So, hello everyone. Today we are going to be talking about how to become a tech lead with our guest Inderpreet Singh. So, let's introduce our guest panelist, Vigas. Say hi.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, hello. Gurvinder, say hi.
Hi everyone.
Yeah. And let's meet our guest this time, Inderpreet Singh. So, Inder, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey guys, thank you for having me here. I am Inder Singh, and I lead a company called Riaz, which is a services company. We provide leadership services to startups and other agencies. I am also VP of engineering at a company called Rena Dev and CTO, and I do like a part-time consultancy as a like own need CTO for another company called Skillshape.
Yeah. So, to start with, so what is a tech lead?
Tech lead is a person. So the two parts of so that word tech lead has two parts, right? Tech and lead. So it's basically about technical leadership. So a guy or a girl who is good in leadership and as well as have some technical knowledge, that would be tech lead.
All right. So, do you have some slides that you would like to show?
Yeah, sure. Are they visible?
Uh, yes, they are.
How can I hide this bar?
Uh, Probably you can click on present, I guess.
That way I won't see you. Okay,
Uh,
see you.
yeah.
That's fine.
Okay. Great.
Cool.
Okay. So
So
you have to share the slide.
yeah, so this is, you can see the date. It's 9 July 2019, Seattle. So this presentation was given on it's called Code Fellows, a kind of a coding school in Seattle, and I gave this presentation there. So slides are from there, but things are very current. Things are very up to date, and I'll be going through these slides, and I can share. Anyone can ask questions anytime, and I will share my journey through Tech Lead as well as how anyone who wants to become a tech lead, what they should do, what they can do, and things like that.
Sure.
So, why to become a tech lead? Like, why do we need to become a tech lead? So one answer could be like a humorous answer is like, life is this, and I like this. You want to grow, and you want to be at a better position. So that's one reason, not a reason to be judged, but that's one very nice reason that you want to become someone better and bigger than what you are right now. But even before even before we talk about the particular things about tech leadership, leadership in general is a choice. If you look at any of the leaders around, like if you remember, like forget about technical area, right? If you think about leaders from any any facet of the society, like say Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King, think about anyone. They were not the leaders that were appointed. They were not the leaders which were given roles of a leadership. Like they were not appointed leaders. They just came out. They made a choice that I want to lead, and then they led. So the first thing that I want to make very clear is that though I am talking about tech lead as a job, like a job title, but um, this slide is about the tech lead as a job title, so we will talk about that. But underneath that, the core of this whole presentation, or whole my idea about tech lead, is leadership as a choice. So even if you are the most junior developer in your company and you want to become a tech lead, it doesn't take anything other than just walking into the room and deciding to lead. And that leading, now what does leading mean here? Leadership means one thing and one thing only, and that is that you have followers. A follower is someone who raises their hand and volunteers. Like this is the main word here. The key word here is volunteers to go where you are going. So that's all what leadership is about. And now putting it into the technical perspective, what it could mean for you as a junior most developer, and it could be like a senior developer, however, right? um, even for a junior most developer, what it could mean practically in a technical world is you go out and you say, I think we should start using um, TypeScript in our system. You raise that word out and you explain to your colleagues that TypeScript has these benefits, and or we should use SCSS rather than CSS because this has such so and so benefits. And you say, okay, and then you get a couple of people who say, this guy knows what he's saying, and I think I agree with him and I'm following him. Now, when you have that kind of followership, when your ideas have some people who are agreeing to that idea and ready to support you in that idea, you are a leader already. You don't need a job description. Don't need a job title. Sorry. So all you need is a will to lead. So good leaders lead even before they are like entitled as leaders. So that's what like basic leadership is about. Then who is a tech lead? So we have this kind of a ladder kind of view in our mind. There's a junior developer, there's a software engineer, then there's a senior developer, and then there's a tech leader. That's what we think of the path when we think about becoming a tech leader. But that's fake news. That's not true. The thing is, the tech lead is not a promotion, it's a role change. It's like you are shifting your department. So it's completely not a linear progression. You are changing your role. So this is called, I forgot the author of this Trident career path, but he's an author. He did a study on this, and he kind of came up with this career path, which is called Trident career path. So once you have become a senior developer, so there's a linear progression there. You become a junior developer, then you become a senior developer, where you have some leadership responsibilities. So you can still be a leader there. But then as a career path, you have three ways to go. Either you can be an individual contributor, which is like Linus Torvalds, and many times we see it in open source that a guy who is a senior enough, but he doesn't take like a management role, but he kind of ends up being a contributor whose contributions are really valued, whose ideas are really valued, and you ask them for vision on the project. So that's what individual contributor is about. And then there's a manager. Manager is a guy who knows about Jira and things like that. He can manage people's time. Maybe he has a management degree, and maybe BTech and then MBA, like that kind of scenario. But his most prominent role is management. And then the third one is technical leader, which is neither an individual contributor nor a manager, but it's kind of a combination of both, but also something more. So tech leader is made up of like three different components, which is you should have a development knowledge, so you are already a developer, and then at the same time you know about the architecture, and that means like having a very wide array of knowledge, like about front end, back end, and the things that glue them between, like servers to unit testing, A/B testing, to design tools. Like you have this general idea about the architecture of the system. So you need that knowledge, and that means you are current on things. You know things like what new servers are coming, what new services AWS is providing, like those kind of things. And if you don't know them completely, which is mostly the case because you cannot know everything, right? So because you don't know everything, then you know people who you can go to rely for those that kind of knowledge. And then on the other side is leadership, just being able to lead. If something is happening wrong, you're able to say it up front. You're able to take a fight. You're able to stand for yourself and your team. That's leadership.
Yeah. So can someone be tech lead and project manager together?
Yes, he can be. Tech leaders many times do project management. So again, it's yes, like the short answer is yes. We can be a tech leader and a project manager at the same time, but they are not the same thing. Because
Okay.
even as a project management, if you are a technical project manager, which I have taken a role multiple times, you're a technical project manager, so you do some tech leadership there, but your main goal is like project management, right? So You can be both at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah. And does tech lead have to code?
Tech lead can code. It does. It depends on like your team, right? So if you have like 100 people, so 100 people, you have a team of 100 developers. You would be barely coding. Like once in a blue moon, you would be coding, like actually coding. But most of the time, you will be inside code. You will be inside pull requests. You will be reviewing code at a certain time, things like that. So if it's a team of 2 people, you can be a tech leader and a senior developer at the same time. So it just depends upon the size, scale, and the circumstance. But yeah, the knowledge, you should have knowledge of development. That's for sure.
Okay. So yeah. Yeah, you can go ahead.
A tech leader is a software, like this is the definition of tech leader by Patrick Kua. Patrick Kua is a really kind of a visionary on, not a visionary, I mean a very leading voice on what tech leadership is. So tech leader is a software engineer responsible for leading a development team and responsible for quality of its technical deliverables. So these are the two main things that a tech leader does. It leads a development team and also is responsible for quality of its technical deliverables. Now, for someone like a CEO, he can be responsible for leading a development team, but he cannot be responsible for quality of its technical deliverables. Why? Because probably he does not have a knowledge. So this is the difference between a tech leader and a normal leader, is that you are responsible for quality of its technical deliverables. And also, if you look at this definition, it's a very carefully crafted definition. Tech leader is a software engineer before anything else. So he should have, and he does have, the knowledge of software engineering first of all, and then he's responsible for extra things. So he might end up coding more than he will end up coding way more than a normal project manager would. So a tech leader is another, like another very amazing voice in the area of tech leadership is Erin O'Neill, and she works at, I guess, Oracle. I forget. I think O'Reilly. I don't know. A tech lead is a owner of the technical vision for a project and a technical leader of the project team. So the only difference here is the idea of technical vision. So, for example, I want my, like when you're working with a team and you're leading, you want your followers to not be worrying about the future, so that they can spend most of their efficiency in dealing with the present. So, while you're giving them instructions about the present of development and technical side, you are thinking about what's ahead. Like, okay, now we are working on, say, like just taking an example. So now we are working on React code base, and tomorrow I know that I have to move this website to mobile and desktop. So tomorrow I will be porting this from basic React to Ionic React. So something like that. I will have that vision in my mind, and all the technical decisions that are being taken right now will depend upon that vision. And now this technical vision cannot be taken. Like, the why we need a tech leader is because this technical vision cannot happen with someone like a project manager or a CEO, or someone who is not a software engineer, who is not right inside the code and is able to see that are we coding in a way that it's reusable, or whatever our future visions are. So basically, it's transferring the idealistic vision of a CEO or a manager and converting it into a technical vision, which can be given as technical instructions to the developers. So if we have to say four things, what are they? Tech vision, caretaker of the team, quality control. You take care of quality. Responsible for delivery. He has to make sure that things are being delivered responsibly and on time. And you can be a tech lead today. Any questions until now? I need to take a sip of water.
Yeah, sure. So, like, who does the tech lead actually report to in a enterprise setting, let's say?
Amazing question. Really good question. It depends. Again, it depends on company to company, but mostly the tech leads. Whenever we are building a product, this is from a book called Shape Up by by the guys at 37 Signals, which is now called Basecamp. So the people who built Ruby on Rails, David Hasenheimer, like it's from their company, a book called Shape Up, and they have like worked through many projects. They've divided the whole project development into two distinct parts. One is called shaping, and one is called building. You know, so tech lead would sit right in between these two parts where building is happening. Building is like creating things, right? Shaping is like what do we want these things to be like, and so tech leader sits like directly between that line. So if shaping is being done in a startup by a CEO and his friend, just two people, then tech lead will be working with them and will either report to one of those people, right? But if you are in a big company and you have a senior manager at the top and like a different teams, right? You have a bunch of different teams and there's a senior manager uh, at the top of each teams, then you will be reporting to that manager, because that manager is being drilled down, or manager is being distilled down the vision of the company, and your job is to translate that vision technically, so you will report to that person.
All right. So
So you
what
can
are the steps to become a tech lead?
Yeah, so you can become a tech lead right now, today, this moment,
Okay.
and I'll be sharing a list of tools and skills that can help you be a better leader, like right now. After this call, after this podcast, you can just go back and just, if you start going through these skills and tools, they will help you become a tech leader.
All right.
The first thing is, good leaders find joy in helping others. The best way to have followers is to help others. If someone is having a problem and you're able to provide a solution to them, they're more likely to follow you when you have a voice of leadership. If the manager is not treating the team well, and you stand up for the rest of the team and kind of tell the manager on his her face that these things needs to be improved, you're taking a leadership point while helping others, and that will give you the followers, and that will give you a position of tech leadership. So, but one of the very important parts of a tech leader, if you want to be a tech leader, is that you will always, more often than, because you are helping others, so you need to know what their problems are. That means your knowledge has to be like a really broad, like instead of being focused on a single tool, or like I'm a front end developer that works on JavaScript. Instead of that, you are trading that off with, I know something about everything, and and not like, you have to actually be jack of all trades and maybe master of one, if you can manage that. Okay, so if you see this list of tools that I'm going to show, most of them come towards that area, that you are trying to have a broader knowledge and broader kind of impact. So first one is lead the processes. No matter who is working um, on what part of the project, they would be dealing with the command line once, at least once. Even like front end developers have to deal with it, npm install and all that. So be really good at command line. Like that will really help. Most of your friends will, if they are not like command line ninjas, they will, if he's a front end developer, they would have problems while installing things and running commands. So how I learn command line is, like, I use i3, um, which is like a desktop platform where you don't use GUI at all. You use keys and commands to work out, and that kind of forces you to learn command line. And install Linux. You can install Linux because that also gives you more exposure to command line. Then is Git and Git flow. Be masters of Git and the different kind of flows that we use in Git, which is like feature request, branch, merge, workflow, or just how to solve merge conflicts properly, how to cherry pick things like that. And then the third one is server. even if you are a designer, like a very front end designer, your work will be developed by someone and then hosted on some server, right? As a designer, you might not need to know server administration, but if you want to be a tech leader, um, and there will be people around you who will struggle in that. Like there will be people other than server administrator, right, who will be struggling in that, and server administrator has his own stuff to do, so you can help them. And how you do that is buy servers and play with them, automate stuff, and all of these would, once you are like master of these things, then you become the go-to guy for these things. Someone has a server problem, ask this person. Someone has a git problem, ask this person. Someone has a command line problem, ask this person. And once you start helping them, you kind of become you kind of start leading the processes which are like common among all the areas, like front end, back end, and everywhere. The second thing is good leaders make you feel safe, so they help you make sure that your code is really good, and like you are not causing problems, especially to upper management. So like the biggest kind, I would say, one of the most important, or one of the most efficient ways to come out as a leader among a bunch of followers is to have a have a disaster happen, and then you're able to either prevent it or like mitigate it. So if you are able to do one of these two things, you kind of shine out as a tech leader. Yeah. And that means you should have some knowledge about security and encryption, running knowledge of security and encryption, DevOps and DevSecOps, which is like, you should know the terms like SAST, DAST, which is like static. Um, hmm, I myself forgot the full forms.
Okay,
So
I have a question on that. Is it fair to say that TechLead must have a senior developer experience?
y- um, hmm, yes, for the job, for the title, it would be preferable to have a senior level experience, because you cannot learn all of these things very while being a junior developer. Because what would happen is it all of this would distract you away from your main focus, right? So if you are like a guy who's a junior developer yet and who's still learning like JavaScript, he's starting out there, and he's learning like his like first second project with React. So learning all these things would distract you away from learning that single tool. And so, and a tech leader, as we pointed out earlier, the first thing he has to be is a good software engineer. So you have to reach that point where you're a good software engineer, right? And then you can start taking leadership positions. So it's a security and encryption. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. But I have a sequence question on that.
Sure.
If you were to hire a tech lead, would you look for a backend developer or a front end developer who is potential tech lead but have that kind of experience? What kind of experience would you look for?
If I were to look, so see this, here's where things change, right? If you're saying if I were to look, right?
Yeah,
If Inder was to look, Inder would definitely almost always look for a backend guy, because Inder is a front end guy, and that guy would just complement my skills, right? So, but if a non-technical guy has to look, then front end back end does not matter. It's
yeah.
basically being more full stack is that matters. So he should have both kind of things.
Cool. So the things you have listed in all most of the this in this presentation are mostly related to development or backend things. Like I didn't see a design thing yet.
We'll get there.
Okay,
and
cool.
and also like these things are like that's one thing. These things are not about backend development. These things are not like running the code on backend, because backend people r- run the code like much more on the servers and all. They usually have more knowledge about these things, and that's where front end developers kind of have to struggle a little bit sometimes, like not always. I have seen intelligent front end developers with a great, like I'm a front end developer and I know command line a lot, and command line is not a back end skill per se. you know yes, there will be more back end guys who would have that knowledge, but that's like just because the exposure is less. The
Cool.
debuggers, Many
Thanks.
people don't. Awesome. Many people don't use debuggers like me. I am also like a console.log fan. But yes, using a debugger can help, or being able to debug someone else's code is also a really good skill set if you want to be a tech leader. Then good leaders are multipliers. So now there are like two kind of people in an organization. Um, One are like multipliers and other are like just additives. Additives means you add another developer, and because of him being added to the team, the company's productivity has increased a little, like linearly, because now you have two more hands to work. And then there are people who are multipliers. They come into your team and they make everyone else productive. Their own productivity might be okay, but just by because of their presence and because of their ideas and the tools that they're using, because they're helping out others so much, or they're motivating them, or make, you know, they're in any way possible, they are multiplying the productivity of the team by making everyone around them productive. So, and one of the ways you can do that is by being a quality keeper. Make sure that you are the quality keeper of the whole code. So you make sure the linters and linting standards are being followed, and if someone is not following them, you can politely advise them. um, you can have your own code perform very strict linters and linting standards that would inspire others. You can do objective code analysis, which is code climate and deep scan, which would require um, you just running the code and getting a score on it. Then there are code reviews. Get your code reviewed by a coder. Like you can hire professional code reviewers from Upwork and Code Mentor. So you can do all these kind of things to make sure, like, these are very easy things to do, but the impact of that on the team is really big. And then you can mentor others. Like you should always have good repository of resources to learn. Like, okay, I have like this huge repository. I want to learn React. You should go, like, you should have a direct answer to that. Like if someone wants to learn React, they should go XYZ, and that can help. And if you fall into any problems, let me know and I'll teach you. Teaching is the best way you can come out as a leader. You have to have full stack awareness. Even if you are, here's where design awareness comes into place. You should have a full stack awareness and go for hackdesign.org for design awareness. You know, like even if you are a developer, and you are being handed out designs by a design team, you should know about what those designs are about, and this website can help you learn that. And you should also know like management stuff, which is agile, scrum, like how to properly use Trello, Jira, so that if someone is having problem in using that, you can help them out. So these are the like technical tools and skills which are required from development side of things, right? And now coming back to that question of design, right? When I'm saying tech lead, that does not, like, designers would have their design lead as well, you know, and that design lead would, and if he's working in a technical company, he would be expected to know some of the technical stuff, but he would have his own list of skills that he need to learn, right? So that's where like sometimes we start confusing designers as a part of the development team, which they are in one sense, but their skill set and their workflows and like agile, like for example, things like linting and all don't apply to them. So their kind of tools and things are very different from us, right? So one thing you can do very well, if you, especially if you are a freelancer, is serve the project, not the boss. If you start taking care of project and start going against your boss, not always, I'm not saying like boss is always wrong, but for example, just as an example, if the leader or a boss, whoever your senior is wrong, solve the project. Like rather than pleasing the boss, if you say, oh, this is wrong, more often than not, you will get respect from that boss, and they will rely on you to be honest and be clear about things. So that's one way to that's one of the very cool ways to be a tech lead. And again, That's the last thing. Remember, leadership is a choice. It's not again, it's not a, we did talk about a job title as a tech lead, but it doesn't have to be that job description. When I became a tech lead, I didn't want to be tech lead. Like I was a guy who was doing some of those things because of my history. Like I have been into C++ a lot and I have been into CSS a lot. So I already kind of had that broader spectrum view of what development would be. And I was able to give some advices and some suggestions on each of those areas. And that ended up making me tech lead. So it's just a choice. Leading is a choice with or without the title. That's it.
Yeah.
Am I-
So in the Gurvinder has a question. So Gurvinder, please go ahead.
Hi. Hi. The processes you listed in the first slide of the lead process, aren't
Yeah.
those related to DevOps?
Yes, they are. They are
The
related to
more,
DevOps.
the
I
more I,
pointed them out separately because they are the biggest pain points that I have found in the teams.
sorry.
So they are the biggest pain points that I have found in the team. So that's why I have like listed them out separately. But yes, they are part of DevOps. They're closely related to DevOps, but they are also part of like any developer's everyday experience. Even if you are not a DevOps guy, you would still be using the terminal, right? You would still be writing npm install every day or npm start every day, right? If
Yes.
assuming you are a JavaScript developer, or if you are like a Ruby developer or a Python developer, you will be like pip and all, right? So you will be dealing with command line if you are a developer. And because we don't extensively train in command line, it becomes a pain point. So even when DevOps have their own list of responsibilities, but even with outside DevOps, like these things have very kind of a very frequent use in your developer life.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I agree to that.
Yeah. So Inder, are you enjoying being a tech lead?
Oh, I love it. As but it does get frustrating at times, but because like there's a lot of responsibility of things that you are not doing. Sometimes I do wish that I was just given instructions and being able to do what I'm told, so that I don't have responsibility of launching a product or being worried about you know these things. But overall, I am enjoying. Other problem that I do face is when you're doing all this, you don't get chance to code a lot, and that kind of takes a toll on you, like on your skills a little. Like you don't remember syntaxes and things as easy as you used to. So there's more googling when you're coding, like things like that, and that kind of sometimes makes you feel inadequate, or am I doing the right thing? But again, because we have like tech leaders have to come with the terms come on terms with the fact that it's a role change from being a developer, and we have to accept that, and we have to learn things like I learn about coding as much as now I learn about leadership, like or management, or terms like um, various marketing terms as well, because that also impacts the technical vision.
All right. So anyone else have any question?
Yeah, I have. So, Inder, what non-tech qualities are preferred or required for someone to be a tech lead? Like the personal qualities.
Yeah, leadership qualities, being able to take a stand, being able to disagree, being able having having a creative and a problem solving mindset, helping others, these kind of things, just like normal leadership qualities that you would expect from any leader. Being able to rally support, being able to gather people to support your cause or support your decision, these kind of things.
I see. So someone who is already senior developer and want to be a tech lead. So how much is the transition period like for an average guy or average developer to require the whole thing to be changed? As you say, it's a completely role shift.
Yeah, it's a role change, but like how can you learn leadership qualities, right? That's a big question. Like and I don't think anyone has an answer to that, right? So we there's no set course. Like you can spend 3 years in MBA and spend like 2 more years in learning about leadership, and you won't have leadership qualities, and you might have never attended any leadership and you might have it, right? So it's like very subjective, very inherent. So I don't think there's a set amount of time. I think lead
So
like
So
yeah,
if
go
you
ahead.
can just answer about yourself, like when you started being a tech lead from being a developer, like how much time did it take for you to be comfortable in being a tech lead?
um I was for a year in a denial. So it happened during Glyph. Okay, so I was hired as a developer there, you know, and I started doing some things which would be like leader like, which I used to always do. But and some of the senior officials there saw that and kind of bumped me into this position. And because another tech lead was not available, I was just a front end developer hired to do just the Android part of a very big thing, right? And
Yeah.
for
So
almost a year, I was
yeah,
like, okay, I would be going back to coding soon, soon, soon. But for a good amount of time, I didn't go back to coding, and
yeah.
yeah, it took me that transition.
So yeah, so it seems like you have transitioned from front end developer and then directly transitioned to the tech lead, right?
Yeah, I was a full stack developer before, like that
Mm-hmm.
role. Like, I was hired for a front end role at that point, but I have always been like since JavaScript became full stack, I have been kind of selling myself as a full stack developer, or positioning myself as a full stack developer.
All right.
That's wonderful.
Any
Thank you
other
for answering.
questions,
Yeah.
None from me.
Gurvinder?
No, I don't have any questions.
All right. I think then maybe we can end the broadcast. So yeah. So thank you everyone for joining the podcast, especially Inder for this maybe wonderful presentation. So hopefully we will be connecting soon once again. So see you and bye.
Thanks,
Bye
Valjit.
bye.
Have a good day, guys. Bye.
Bye bye, everyone. Thanks for